Hello and welcome to Goddess Resurrection. My name is Britta and I am your host. And today's episode is on timeline of self-worth. And we will dive into what self-worth really truly is and how to not only level up, but maintain your vibration of self-worth. Before we dive in, how's it going, my gorgeous sister? I hope you are so well. I hope you've been breathing and feeling and you've been really preparing for this planetary alignment. And yeah, I hope you've been seeing some blessings coming into your life because of your alignment. And if that hasn't shown up or if those blessings haven't shown up yet, that's okay, because they will come in the perfect timing of your journey. So always remember to trust the timing of your life, to trust that you are exactly where you are meant to be right now. And that is already one part to self-worth, right? Because when you are so in the trust of the timing of your life and that you're exactly where you're meant to be, you are in your worth. Because if you weren't in your worth, you would be like, oh, I can't believe this, and still, and I'm waiting, and what the heck, and I'm doing everything I can, and what's happening here, and comparing, and look at them, and they get this, and they get that, and, I'm still waiting, and what the heck, come on, like, right, complaining. And so then that is not self-worth. So let's dive right in. When we're in this attitude of complaining and competing and comparing and where is it and what's happening, we're not in our worth, even though it may feel like we're in our worth, right? Because we're like, oh, but I deserve it, right? Oh, but hey, I've worked for it. And where is it? It could appear to be in alignment with worth, but that's just ego. Right? Because when we're impatient, when we're comparing, when we're complaining, when we're throwing a temper tantrum, that's never your light. That is ego, because things aren't happening in your way. Things aren't happening in the timing that you want. Things aren't happening as quickly as you thought that they should. Yes? So that is not worth. Worth is much deeper. Worth is much more empowered. Worth is who you really are. And so go ahead and focus onto the breath. Stay in your breath. Stay connected into that bottom of the belly breath. And just get out of your logic head. Get out of your masculine hemisphere and drop yourself into your feminine energy. Drop yourself into the right hemisphere alignment where you can just be in the knowing. Because remember, when you are in your feminine energy, you are in your knowing. When you are in your feminine energy, you already are in your worth. When you are in your feminine energy, you are connecting to the light, to the divinity that is the real you. And that's what true worth is really and truly all about. The deeper we are embodying our true self, the deeper we are remembering who we really are, the deeper we are in our light connection, the more of this worth that we already are becomes the authenticity from which we are living. And so from here, let me just backtrack for a second, because I do want to explain timeline. What is timeline? What are timelines? Timelines are not dependent on physical space. Timelines are vibration. And you, I, all of us, we already all have the timelines, the potentials within us. So we are our timelines. And one could be on a lower timeline and a higher timeline within the range of a day, within a moment. It depends, right? So it's all up to our vibrational state, because the highest timeline is always the highest vibration that we have gotten to, that we've worked for. Because remember, nothing here on earth is ever given to us. Nothing here on earth is ever handed to us. We are here in this school format that is made up of energy for our souls to learn how to work with energy, for our souls to, through the incarnations, come back and return to our worth, to come back and to return to our light, to come back to and return to our divinity. That is the purpose of reincarnating, to eventually become the light again while in human body that we really are, to really be in that presence of divine self, of goddess self, while we're playing human. That is the ultimate goal now, and that is then the true embodiment of worth. And so there are levels, as you can see now, right? Because we ourselves are responsible for our vibration. And so somebody could know their worth, but not yet have embodied it, not yet be able to really live it yet, not really being able to claim it fully. So for example, right, somebody could be in a relationship where in theory, they know that they are source. They know that they are light incarnate. They know that they are divinity in their essence. But because of old patterning, because of old conditioning, because of old energies that still need to be healed, old trauma that still needs to be transformed, this person, albeit theoretically understanding, yes, I am thus divine, but still dense in their reaction patterns. So it could still be jealousy. It could still be big tantrums. It could still be, big fights. It could still be this old paradigm energy of conflict within themselves and within the relationship, right? They could still be with a partner where none of that worth is yet able to find expression. And so this means that even though the logical masculine understanding has settled in that, yes, okay, I believe that I am all of this worth, I believe that I am all of this divinity, but this person still needs to now level up by the choices they're making. How am I thinking? How am I choosing to think? Am I looking at myself? Am I self-observing? Am I looking to find the highest perspective? Am I looking to learn the lesson? Am I looking to express my needs? Am I looking to listen? Am I looking to set boundaries? Am I looking to acknowledge how something feels to me? And if it doesn't feel good, to let the person, the partner, know, right? And again, of course, walking the talk, right? Am I able to not only speak about it and want it, but am I able to be it? Am I able to walk my talk, right? So there are so many parts to us that will define the level of timeline of worth that we are on. And this is directly in correlation to how deeply we're healing, to how willingly we are able to surrender, to how willingly we are able to trust the timing, how willingly we're able to check ourselves in the ways in which we can see the old patterns at play, in the ways in which we can see our old reactions at play, in the ways in which we can see our old playing small, playing too big, meaning the ego, ways in which we have existed, right? Because the ego is a part of this earthly experience. It's a part of this earthly game. It's made up of energy that we incarnate into, and we're here to learn how to work with energy. We're here to learn how to dive into the wounding. That's just emotional energy. It's energy, it's emotional energy, it's old perceptions, it's mental energy. And as we are beginning to revisit the wounding, for example, we then get to mold that energy. We get to touch it and we get to reshape it. And the more that we're able to understand that, oh, even though this happened 20 years ago, I am able to shift by going back the mental perception of it. And I am also able to heal the emotional trauma that holds the pattern in place to begin with. And how do we heal the emotional trauma? By feeling it unconditionally. And so once we recognize that, yes, we can go back and clear all of this energy, because energy never goes away, right? Energy stays in place until we touch it, until we mold it and shapeshift it, right? It's transforming. Energy can never be destroyed, as we know. Energy is like sand. It depends on how soft it is or how wet it is. And so we get to work with it. And it's the same with energy. Once we learn that we have the power to shift energies, to neutralize energies, to reshape energies, to rebuild patterns, or to detach old patterns and shift them into new patterns. Once we realize this, we're really now able to step into more worth. Because obviously you know this, and I hope you're still breathing. The external, this school format made up of energy, can never, ever, ever add to our worth, and it can never, ever, ever, ever take away from our worth. Only we, only you, only I have the power to shift my energetic patterns out of the way, to mold and reform my energy mentally, emotionally, energetically, physically. Only I hold the power to change these old energies. And the more that I shift and change my old energies, my old beliefs, my old fears, my old insecurities, my old wounding, my old trauma, my old lack, my old scarcity, my old victimization, right? The more that I am working with all of this as energy, the more I am now able to mold it to my desire, to my goals, able to repattern my thinking into higher picture, bigger picture perspective, higher perspective at large. What am I here to learn? How can I grow from this? What am I meant to see here? Okay, am I meant to practice some forgiveness? Okay, let's do that. What else? Okay, surrender. Okay, I need to surrender, right? Trusting the timing of my life. And so the more that we're really beginning to work with ourselves in terms of this energy, these patterns that are in the way, you already know that you are all the worth, all the health, all the joy, all the prosperity, all the power in your divinity. You already know that. But see, the intellectual knowledge of it is not going to cut it. It's not enough. Just by you knowing that, you're still going to have to shift the patterns. You're still going to have to work with the energy. You're still going to have to keep looking to yourself, self-observation, lovingly and unconditionally, as to where you are still in a lack of worth. Where are you still in energetic patterning that is blocking your worth, that is blocking your way from seeing, from thinking, from speaking, from choosing, from acknowledging and feeling and embodying the real you, the fullness of your worth. And the beautiful thing about your worth is that, if you want to just take a few breaths and imagine yourself as the glorious goddess that you really are. When you are really in your goddess, when you are really in your light, when you are really in your worth, you know that it's not about what you're wearing. It's not about what you're driving. It's not about where you live. When you're truly in your worth, you can be wearing rags and you still know who you are, because it's a feeling, it's a knowing. It is you being so embodied that it is the fullness of you, the fullness of your truth. And then, for example, of course, on the other side of this, there are people who have everything external, but they're not in the fullness. They're not in the feeling. They're not in the knowing. They're not in the experience of their actual worth. And if all of the belongings, if all of the things will be taken away, then they would be quite lost. And God knows what they would do. But again, right, you understand what I'm saying. And so it is really the commitment to yourself, understanding that there are higher and higher and higher timelines of your self-worth that you will be able to level yourself up to. And what does that mean? It means going deeper. It's not up, thinking in terms of going up somewhere, right? It's not about a physical space, remember. It's an internal vibrational shift, because the deeper you go within, the more that you are clearing and repatterning these energy forms, opening the way to your light, to your true self, the deeper you will embody, the more full you will become with your light, which is a high frequency. And so make sure that you really pay attention to yourself on the ego level, right? Because the ego is the part of you that is built in, and we can never destroy the ego. The ego is going to stay and is your checkpoint. The ego is actually quite fantastic once we learn how to work with it. Because the ego is almost as if it's that self-check, that sign of mastery, when you're able to look at yourself and you're like, is this my ego voice? Because the ego always has to be better than or less than. The ego can never be equal. The ego can never be, the same or oneness. The ego always has to be better than or less than. It doesn't care either way, as long as it gets fed, right, by these distinctions. And so as long as you pay attention to yourself on the ego level, you're going to be deepening and deepening and deepening still. You're going to be leveling to higher vibration in the way that you are in your worth. And so let's come back to that example of being in a relationship. And, so when we're in our worth, for example, we know what we deserve. We know that, yes, we're here to be in this goddess experience, and we deserve to be with a partner who sees you as a goddess, who sees you as the light, who sees you as the divine being that you really are, and you see them for the divine being that they really are. Right? This is when both are now in their fullness of their worth. And that is really going to be the manifestation of relationships of the new earth. But let's use the stages, right? Because this is an elevation and it's a process and it doesn't happen overnight. And again, so when we are in relationship, it is always the reflection, right? The partner is the reflection as to where we are still in blind spot, as to where we are still needing to work on self, right? Even though in relationship, what we're seeing most of the time is it's the blame, like looking at the other person, that they're not doing this, or they're not able to show this, or give this, or do this. When in truth, it's never to change the other person, but for the self to take responsibility as to, is this reflecting my worth to me, or is it not? If it is not reflecting my worth to me, it is now my job and my responsibility, first of all, to not let it take me out of my worth, to not let it trigger me into lower ego reaction, which would be, oh, the lower end would be, oh, neediness. Oh, but I want this, and well, you never do this, and right, being in the victim and being in the neediness, and that will be the lower expression of, wanting to receive this. Or it could go into the higher expression, which is not better. It's just the other way of the ego, where it would be the reaction pattern, right? It would be the, well, F you, whatever, right? It would be the cold shoulder. It would be the wall coming up. It would be the, well, then, I'm not going to give you this, right? So it's the reaction in that attitudey way. And neither one are reflecting worth. Both of them are ego driven, even though one knows that it's because I'm not receiving, I'm not seeing reflected to me my worth. I'm not experiencing that worthy reflection of what I know I deserve. But if I am still operating from these egoic reactions, either way, less than or better than, that'll lower my timeline. That'll lower my vibration. That'll pull me right back into the illusion of this energetic play, and it'll reinforce my patterning, my old wounding, my old fears, right? And so instead, what is important to do in that moment when I am in my worth and I am in a situation where that worth is not being reflected back to me, it is now my responsibility to take responsibility for where I'm getting triggered, right? Where am I feeling my wounding? Where am I feeling my activation? Is it my abandonment, right? Is it my fear of being left, or is it my fear of not being good enough, or right? Where is it? Where am I being activated by this? And because that's really what this is all about, right? It's the reflection, it's the mirror, so that I take responsibility for myself, so that you take responsibility for yourself. Remember, worth can never be given to you. It can also never be taken away from you. You are responsible for yourself in terms of your patterns that would keep you away from your worth. Has nothing to do with other people. And then, of course, as you continue to heal more deeply, as you continue to deepen within yourself, you will rise, you will level up to higher timelines of you being in your worth. And then at some point, this happens all the time where, people outgrow each other. And it depends on the level of commitment, and it depends on the level of consciousness, right? Is your partner, for example, willing to go deeper? Are they able and willing to heal, to receive help, right? Get help and go there. And then, it'll be a leveling up. And that's really the healthy form of, a relationship that, we're always wanting to heal. We're always wanting to level up. We're always wanting to, look at self and go deeper. But then if the partner isn't able to do that or not willing to do that, and their ego tells them otherwise, then of course it would be, the next logical step to create some separation in some form, right? Because as we are now leveling to deeper knowledge of self-worth, but not just the knowledge, let's not forget, it's really the experience. It's the knowing, it's the feeling, it's the truth of who you are. And working with that and staying in this way, of course, we can be patient. Of course, we can be understanding. Of course, we can be compassionate. But again, we want to be careful that it's not dropping into the lower part of the ego of like allowing too much, right? Of being too timid or playing too small, so that we're not having to make tough decisions, so that we're not having to shake the boat again. And so, of course, from here, the deeper we step into our worth, the more important it is to find yourself in a life where you are choosing very selectively who you are surrounding yourself with who you are spending your time with. And the closer people are to you, the closer people come into your life, into your sphere, the more intimate the relationships, the more important it is for them to be on a similar vibration, on a similar timeline. Right. And it's normal for one to be growing faster, or, that's normal, because we will continue to grow. Even in the new earth experience, we will continue to level up. But make sure you are selective with who you are spending your time with and how you are spending your time, because the ego is going to try to make it this confidence, this strength thing, right? So, oh, I'm able to, have all this sex with all these different people, therefore, I'm just so powerful. Ego. Oh, I'm able to, make all of this money, and therefore I am just so empowered. Ego. Oh, I am able to, get anybody to do what I want them to do in my ways of manipulation. Ego, right? So all of these things are going to show up in your face. The ways in which your ego is able to, trick you to fall into those traps that are going to just reinforce these patterns, this energy, that you need to catch, right? The more that you are in your worth, the more you have to pay close attention to yourself, not just the people that are surrounding you, but how you are choosing for yourself, what it is that you are choosing for yourself, right? Because your worth, how you are choosing it is really meant to support your worth. How you are choosing is meant to grow your divinity. How you are choosing is meant to assist the leveling up to the highest timelines. And as you are raising in vibration and as you're shifting in timelines within yourself, you're going to continue to rise up. You're going to continue to level up. And then more and more and higher timelines are going to appear still. Because for as long as we are in these physical bodies, there's always deeper. There's always more, because the light that we are, the beautiful divinity that we are, that you are, could never, ever find its full expression through this body. It would spontaneously combust this physical vessel, even when we've upgraded to 5D and above. And by the way, fifth dimensional living is not even that high. Fifth dimensional living is knowing yourself as soul. It's seeing the other person as the soul, as the light, as the divinity that we are. Yes. And to, continue to go deeper, to continue to work through these energetic layers of old conditioning, of old beliefs, of old wounding. But make no mistake, 5D is not yet it at all. The dimensions of the light, of source, are endless, right? So even though as we are evolving and as we are embodying light, for as long as we are in these bodies, we will continue to heal and we will continue to deepen. It'll become easier and more fluid and less intense and less dramatic. But even there, who knows? Dramatic things can happen that can really throw somebody out of sync, really out of alignment. And that's okay. That's then part of the journey of remembering that, oh, yeah, that's how quickly this can go. So always stay humble, always stay in your sense of surrender, always stay in your sense of, I am all that, but I'm only human. Because the ego, which will turn into spiritual ego, is also going to mess with you on the levels of self-worth. The ego is now going to want to chime in and become that, grandiose, grand, better than, more healed than, more leveled up than, higher timeline than kind of a voice. So on this leveling up journey, pay attention to your ego, recognize your ego, listen to what's ego, feel into what is it. Is it ego? This is ego. You'll be able to recognize and really feel when it's ego. The more that you want to, the more that you lean into it, the more you will be able to tell, oh, yeah, this is my ego. And it'll disguise itself because it'll tell you that, oh, I deserve this. And so you got to give that to me. If not, then F you, right? So again, recognize ego. Even though it may sound like worth, feel into it. Is that what the divinity would say? Is that what your light would say? Is that how you're really feeling authentically in your center, right? Because when you're authentically in your worth and in your center, you're still humble. You're centered, you're setting your boundaries, you're speaking your truth, you know what you deserve, but you're also not having to react in those ways anymore. Because you're coming from a much higher place of wisdom. You're coming from a much higher place of perspective. And so that is, of course, the journey of this leveling up, that the closer you pay attention to yourself, knowing that's only about yourself, it's a feeling. Vibration is a feeling experience. And I hope you are still breathing, because it is only through the breath that you can really tap in to the feeling and into the knowing of your true self that is already worth all the worth, everything. It's already who you are. So make it your new norm. Make it your lifestyle to keep adjusting those energies, to keep molding and shifting these patterns, these wirings, these reactions into conscious choices and responses. And you will naturally level up to higher timelines of self-worth evermore. Good, my gorgeous. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for your time, for your presence on this platform. And I am grateful for your light here on this wonderfully ascending planet. As from here, as always, I'm sending love and light blessings to you and yours. Hugs and kisses. Ciao for now.